Chosen one, listen carefully. This message is not here to accuse you, but it will confront you. It's not here to shame you, but it will expose what has quietly been limiting your growth. If you feel a tightening in your chest as you hear this, that's not coincidence, that's recognition. Because you cannot grow while you are still defending your past, and most people don't realize they are doing it. They think they've moved on because time has passed. They think they're healed because they don't cry anymore. But deep down they are still explaining, justifying, protecting, and rehearsing old versions of themselves that God is actively trying to retire. Here is the truth most people never hear: growth requires agreement with change, and defending your past is disagreement with transformation. Every time you say, "But you don't understand what I went through," every time you explain why you had to act that way, every time you rehearse the reasons you stayed too long, spoke too harshly, settled too low, or compromised your values, you are unconsciously asking the future to pause while you protect the past, and the future will not wait. God will not build your next season on excuses that belonged to your last one. There was a time when your survival required certain behaviors. There was a time when your mindset made sense. There was a time when your reactions were understandable. But what once protected you can become the very thing that imprisons you. Defense mode is not growth mode. You cannot heal while you are still arguing for the wound. You cannot become new while you are still loyal to who you had to be to survive. Growth begins the moment you stop needing everyone to understand why you were that way and start accepting who you are called to become now. Many people say they want change, but what they really want is validation for staying the same. They want growth without grief, transformation without accountability, elevation without surrender. But every new level demands a funeral for an old identity, and funerals are uncomfortable, they are quiet. They require acceptance that something is truly over. Defending your past is refusing to attend that funeral. It's keeping the door cracked open, just in case you need to return to old patterns, old thinking, old emotional responses when things get hard again. You have to understand this. God does not punish you for your past, but He will not partner with you in protecting it. He forgives, He redeems, He restores, but He also calls you forward. And when He calls you forward, He expects you to loosen your grip on the explanations, the rationalizations, and the identity built around what happened to you. Not because your pain wasn't real, but because your future is more important than your proof. Some of you are stuck because you are still trying to be understood by people who are not assigned to your next season. You are explaining yourself to an audience that no longer has authority in your life. You are defending decisions God already forgave. You are reliving moments heaven already closed. And every time you do, you delay your own becoming. You turn backward to clarify when God is asking you to look forward and commit. There is a difference between learning from your past and living in defense of it. Learning produces wisdom. Defense produces stagnation. Learning says, "That taught me." Defense says, "Let me tell you why it wasn't my fault." One brings humility. The other keeps you emotionally stuck at the age of the wound. And until you are willing to say, "I don't need to defend who I was," you will struggle to fully embody who you are meant to be. Growth often feels like betrayal to your old self. It feels like you are abandoning the version of you that endured, fought, and survived. But you are not dishonoring your past by outgrowing it. You are honoring it by letting it lead somewhere. Pain is meant to be a passage, not a permanent address. And when you keep defending your past, you keep living at the address of the pain instead of moving into the house of purpose built from it. Here is another truth that may sting. Sometimes defending your past is a way of avoiding responsibility for your present. As long as you can point to what happened then, you don't have to fully face what you are choosing now. As long as you can say, "This is why I'm like this," you don't have to ask, "Is this still who I want to be?" Defense delays decision. Growth demands decision. God cannot fully trust you with new wine while you are still loyal to old wineskins. Not because He is harsh, but because expansion requires flexibility. Old justifications harden the heart, old narratives shrink vision. Old explanations keep you predictable, and God is not calling you to be predictable. He is calling you to be transformed. Notice this as well when you are defending your past. You are often more focused on being right than being free. You want your story validated more than you want your future unlocked. But freedom rarely comes from being proven right. It comes from being willing to release. Release the need to explain. Release the need to be understood. Release the need to keep reminding yourself why it made sense back then. It may have made sense, but it is no longer required. There is a moment in every season where God asks a quiet but powerful question. Are you ready to stop rehearsing this? Not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer gets to lead. When you answer yes, growth accelerates. When you answer no, life keeps repeating lessons in different forms, with different faces, until you finally loosen your grip. You may notice that the same patterns keep showing up. Similar conflicts, similar disappointments, similar emotional reactions. And you wonder why often. It's because the past is still driving the present from the passenger seat. You think you've moved on, but you're still letting old experiences tell you how to respond, who to trust, what to expect, and how much to settle for. Growth begins when you say, "That chapter informed me, but it no longer defines me." This is where courage comes in. It takes courage to say, "I don't need to defend myself anymore." It takes courage to let silence replace explanation. It takes courage to allow people to misunderstand the old you while you obey the call on the new you. But that courage is the gateway to expansion. You will never outgrow what you are still protecting. Understand this clearly: God is not asking you to erase your past. He is asking you to stop arguing for it, to stop living as if your story must be constantly clarified for your life to have meaning. Your growth will speak louder than your explanations ever could. Your peace will answer questions your words never could. And your consistency will close doors your defense keeps reopening. If you feel resistance rising in you right now, that's okay. Resistance often shows up right before release. It means something is loosening. It means an identity is shifting. It means you are closer than you think. Let the resistance pass. Let the old arguments fall silent. Let the need to justify rest, because the moment you stop defending your past is the moment you give your future full permission to arrive. Now listen even deeper, because this is where the shift becomes personal. Section 1 exposed the pattern, but this part is about the decision. Growth does not happen automatically with time. It happens when you make a conscious break with who you no longer need to be. And this is the moment where many people hesitate. Not because they don't want freedom, but because freedom requires letting go of familiar pain. Your past has been painful, yes, but it has also been familiar, and familiarity can feel safer than faith. When you stop defending your past, something uncomfortable happens. You stand exposed without an excuse. You can no longer point backward to explain why you're not moving forward. You can no longer hide behind, "This is just how I am because of what I went through." You are left with a choice: either step into responsibility or retreat into repetition. And this is where God watches closely, because responsibility is the doorway to authority. You must understand that your past does not need your protection. It already served its purpose. It taught you, shaped you, refined you. But it cannot follow you into the future without becoming a burden. Many people are carrying their past like armor, thinking it keeps them safe, when in reality it is weighing them down. Armor is useful in war, but deadly in times of rest. And you are not meant to live in battle mode forever. This is why God often removes environments, relationships, and routines when He is trying to grow you. Not because they were all bad, but because they are connected to versions of you that no longer fit. And when those things leave, the instinct is to defend, to explain, to justify, to keep the old narrative alive. But heaven is not asking you to explain. Heaven is asking you to agree. Agreement is powerful. When you agree with growth, you stop negotiating with your calling. You stop saying, "I'll change when I feel ready." You stop waiting for closure from people who benefited from your old self. You stop requiring validation from spaces you've already outgrown. Agreement sounds like, I don't need to defend where I've been to honor where I'm going. There is also a hidden cost to defending your past that few people talk about. It limits what God can reveal to you. Revelation requires humility, and humility begins where justification ends. As long as you are committed to explaining why you did what you did, you close yourself off from seeing what you need to do next. You stay focused on yesterday's logic instead of tomorrow's instruction. Some of you sense that God is calling you higher, but the instructions feel unclear. That's not because heaven is silent. It's because your inner dialogue is too loud. Old conversations, old arguments, old explanations, old self-talk. All of it crowds the space where new direction is supposed to land. Silence is not emptiness, it's capacity. And letting go of defense creates space for clarity. Here is something else you must accept. People may remember you for who you were longer than you want them to. And that is not your assignment to manage. When you stop defending your past, you also stop trying to control other people's perceptions. You allow growth to speak over time. You allow consistency to rewrite the narrative. And yes, some people will never update their version of you, but they are not the authors of your future. Growth often feels lonely at first because you are no longer bonded through shared wounds. You are no longer connecting through mutual pain stories. You are no longer staying small to remain relatable. And in that loneliness, the temptation is to go back and explain yourself, to reconnect through old identities. But if you do that, you delay the connections meant for the version of you that is emerging. This is why God sometimes asks you to walk quietly for a season. No announcements, no explanations, no defenses, just obedience. Quiet growth is protected growth. Loud defense attracts unnecessary battles. When you no longer need to defend your past, you conserve energy for your assignment. You stop bleeding emotional energy into arguments that don't advance your calling. And make no mistake, defending your past can become a form of pride disguised as humility. It sounds like self-awareness, but it's actually attachment. True humility says, I was wrong, I learned and I'm moving forward. Pride says, let me explain why I had to be that way. One releases, the other clings. God is inviting you into a version of yourself that does not need to be explained. A version that is rooted, stable and aligned. A version that responds instead of reacts. A version that no longer needs the past as a shield. But you cannot carry old defenses into new dimensions. They won't fit through the door. So here is the invitation, and it is simple but not easy. Stop defending. Let the past be what it was. Let it sit without commentary. Let it exist without explanation. You don't owe the world a breakdown of your survival. You owe your future your obedience. When you do this, you will notice something powerful shift. Your decisions become clearer. Your peace becomes steadier. Your confidence becomes quieter but stronger. You stop performing healing and start embodying it. And people will feel the difference, not because you told them what you went through, but because of who you have become. This is the moment where growth stops being a concept and becomes a posture. A posture that says, I honor my past, but I no longer answer to it. A posture that says, I am not who I was, and I don't need to prove it. A posture that allows God to fully lead, because you are no longer pulling backward. And this is why you can grow now. Not because your past disappeared, but because it finally stopped speaking louder than your future.